think another thing that you don't realize is a lot of times logic makes you stop. When you're fueled by this fire and this passion and this drive, you could have roadblock after roadblock and say, nope, I don't care. I'm going to keep going.
Thank you for tuning in to Life in Abundance. Where'd our kid go?
Toto was here for the recording of episode 28, and now she is inside, probably raising hell with her older sister. She's making her popcorn and hopefully keeping her content so we can do this recording.
Wait, our oldest is, I'm not going to say a terrible babysitter, but she doesn't babysit.
No, she let me know that this was her last time doing this.
Yeah.
Little does she know she has a lifetime of this ahead of her.
But she wants to take jobs babysitting. Yeah. I'm like, well, let's first start at home. It's kind of like when you want something more and God's like, hey, let's just make your bed first.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Let's take some pride in the way you look first.
100%.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, she's getting better though. The truth is nobody wants to babysit their sisters.
Yeah.
And she doesn't really get paid for it either, so I don't blame her. But it's your role as the oldest.
I mean, you babysitted me for a long time.
I still do. Yeah, at times.
When do you babysit me?
Well, occasionally, like just the other night, you had a big fat tantrum, did I not? Or did you not? Yeah, we got in a fight because Mark wanted me to touch him all day long and life circumstances wouldn't allow. So,
ladies, this would all be solved if we just got out of the way the first thing in the morning.
Oh, God.
First thing in the morning, just get out of the way.
So check a box.
Check a box.
What did couples therapy teach you? Nothing. We're not checking boxes anymore.
Hold on. Check the box. And then at the end of the night, if you're up for it, let's go.
Sometimes I want to punch you in your throat, and right now is one of those times. So, anyways, we were going along the lines of speaking with passion, and that's something that I find, well, for the longest time, I felt like Mark didn't have any passion for anything, and I just wanted that from him, to care about something, have a passion and a drive for something. And I feel like in the last few months, especially doing this couples therapy, there's so much more passion coming from you and fire coming from you, not just in our relationship, but just towards the things that you care about and things that I didn't even know over the last few years that you did care about. And that's been really nice and refreshing. That's a compliment in case you didn't catch that, which I don't give out often.
And what's the funniest part about me in therapy, I'm a number 6 in the Enneagram, which means I have a hard time congratulating myself.
Or celebrating
myself. So I'm married to a person that has a hard time celebrating me. And I also have a hard time celebrating me. So really, there's a lot of pity parties for me in this place. And then Bree has no sympathy for me.
No, I don't.
I'm in a weird predicament. Like sometimes I think I'm going crazy. And then the therapist is like, hey, you need to celebrate Mark every day. So that's really hard for Bree. She's like, okay, well, what are we going to celebrate today?
Exactly. That was my point. I'm like, all right, what are we celebrating? If you can't give me an answer, how do you expect me to give you an answer?
I'm like, aren't you supposed to come up with the answer right now, babe? Like to help me get going?
He never said that. That was a you assignment, not a Steven assignment. Couples therapy has changed our life, though. It has probably dug up some of the deepest, darkest pain, but also brought light to that place so that we can experience healing at a whole new level.
Have you ever, when you're a kid, did you ever punk someone? Like, you kind of like, you a little punk? That's what Steven does. Like, makes me want to do to Bree all the time. Like, I punk her. I'm like, yeah, see what he just said? And then he'll turn around like 5 minutes later, and then he'll drop a thing about me. And Bree's like, yeah, no, I told you. I'm like, this dude, like, for example, we had a conversation a couple months back right before marriage therapy. And we go into it, and he's like, do you guys want to talk about anything? I said, yeah. I said, Bree told me that I'm the most selfish person that she knows. And I was like, I can kind of see that. I see where you're coming from, right? Like, I'm feeling bad about myself, which is, a lot of it is truthful. Then Steven, so I tell him a story, and Steven's like, hey, Bree, I have a question for you. Have you ever mentioned to Mark when he was being that way, like in the moment. And I was like, my man. I was like, tell me more, Steven. And she's like, well, no. And he goes, well, how's Mark supposed to know when he's acting that way if you don't bring it up to him? I'm like, thank you. Mm-hmm. Exactly. And he's like, he's a man. He only sees one thing.
He said, just chalk it up to he's not selfish. He's just unaware.
Yeah. I'm like, thank you.
Uh-huh. But then what?
Well, then I have a lot of things I need to work on.
Yeah, then where's the ownership after that?
I didn't really want to say that part.
100%.
Yeah,
100%.
Just pipe it.
Yeah, he only wants to shed light on a few things, and that's what I don't do.
I'm supposed to celebrate myself.
Exactly.
So I'm shedding light on things that I do well.
Yeah, I've been celebrating you too a lot lately, right? And we're just digging up things to celebrate that you don't want to acknowledge as a positive, and we've been doing that.
You sound really happy about that.
Exactly. But here's the thing. I don't give out compliments that often, and it's the truth. I just don't.
Why is that?
One thing my dad always told me is like awards, compliments, they don't get you paid. I don't know. Wasn't that relevant to me? I don't need a compliment from Mark to know like I did a good job. I know I did a good job.
And your dad also has more accomplishments. Your dad has more awards and accomplishments in his business than anyone ever.
Yeah, but that's okay. It doesn't make him money. As he said, he didn't need them. That was nice, but moving on. We're going to keep doing what we have to do. So for me, it's painful to hand out compliments because I'm like, I don't know why this is relevant, but okay, I get it. It might be his love language. Words of affirmation is Mark's love language, how he feels loved. But then how Mark shows love is acts of service, which is not my love language, but I'm just supposed to feel loved by my car wash. But I appreciate it. It's not I would rather Mark make time for me. It's just interesting how those two things are totally different. They're not wrong. Neither one of them are wrong. It's just not making the other person feel you. And so going back to the topic of passion and fire, for the longest time in my marriage, I just wanted Mark to care about something. I even said to him at a certain point, I don't care if it's another woman. Just show me you care about something. And what's so crazy is when we would get in fights, the one thing Mark would throw in my face is, do you just not care about that? And I became so irritated by that comment. I couldn't even hear him anymore. I'm like, stop telling me what I care and what I don't care about. Like, you don't have that place. And so we've had to work through this during couples therapy, and me having to be receptive to Mark, knowing how he operates and how he thinks at like a number 6. We keep talking about this Enneagram. If you haven't taken the test, you need to take the test. It's mind-blowing how dead on it is for us. But I'm an 8. I'm a challenger. I'm one that doesn't need many compliments. I'm not fishing for those ever. But I get it that that's something that makes Mark feel loved, and I have to understand how he thinks and how he operates, and that's something that fuels him and allows him to feel more passionate about certain things. So although it's hard for me to give out a compliment, he's really easy to love because he's easy to read. I know at all times what Mark's thinking and what he wants.
What am I thinking right now?
I knew you were thinking that, so go ahead.
No, I'm thinking I like the cheetah print.
Thank you. Perfect. Keep your compliments to yourself. All right. And what else?
You know, what I learned about passion and about caring is... What are you laughing at, Kevin? Our video guy's cracking up over here. I'm trying to be serious. And he's just having a good old time. What I learned about passion is... you have to do it for the right reason. And for a long time, I was doing things like checking the boxes and doing things because I wanted to be seen. And when you do things that for the right reasons, because you actually care and you want to do them for those people, then it creates a whole different mindset in how you approach things, how you talk to people, what you care about, what you don't care about. Mm-hmm. And I realized for so long, my energy was in the wrong places that didn't create passion, didn't create desire, didn't create growth, value. It was things that were very fleshy, that were very,
surface.
Yeah, it's very surface, and now I'm like trying to see like what really matters. What, doing the dishes and laundry and all that. It helps us. It helps Bree, but that's not what she wants. She wants to go on a date night on Thursday nights, and she wants to get dressed up, and she wants to me to put my phone down and snuggle and do those things. And that creates passion. That creates me wanting to do things more. Mm-hmm. And what's funny about date night is for a long time, we went on date nights with other couples. And I heard about 4 or 5 months ago, hey, like you should go on date nights by yourselves because you actually communicate. And what I realized is for years, we didn't really communicate at all, like just by ourselves. There was always with some people or with kids. So there's never a time where you're just talking to like one-on-one. That sounds really like simple and dumb, but think about it. Like when was the last time on a daily basis, or when was the last time you sit down with your spouse and just had a conversation without other people there? And if you have kids or whatever, it's like, it's very difficult to do that.
And even like not just communicating about like your schedule or whatever, having a deep conversation and like asking the other person, like, how did that feel? Like, how are you?
Yeah. Like we were in, marriage therapy. I know I keep saying it, but, Bree said she hated me back in the day, like 3 or 4 times within like a 20-minute window. And our therapist goes, Bree, you've said the word hated 3 times about Mark. And she's like, yeah. And he goes, you know what you actually meant by that was? And she's like, no, I have no idea.
Because as an 8, I couldn't say this.
And he goes, it's because Mark broke your heart.
He said you loved him so much that he broke your heart.
And I was like, and I'm sitting there next to her. I'm like, that was way worse than she hated me. Like she hated me. I'm like, whatever, I don't care. I'll go to bed. But when he said it like that, it hit differently. And he was 100% right. But we went all these years with her saying she hated me, how much she hated me. And it didn't really like resonate in my mind. Like I got it. But then he said it like that. And I was like, pfft.
Yeah.
And that opens up a whole nother conversation and can of worms of what I wasn't doing or how I showed up and she showed up and suppression and all kinds of stuff. Right. And
just led to a deeper conversation with a deeper root.
Yeah. And a deeper connection. Yeah. And you realize how surface my marriage was for so many years. And our therapist goes, yeah, most people's marriage is surface for like 15 to 20 years. Like you don't really get to a deep conversation or know your partner. And that's why most people get divorced for 15, 20 years. Mm-hmm. It's like you wake up every morning to go out to the world to give your best to your business, to your job, whatever it might be. And then you get home and the worst of you is for your kids and your spouse.
Yeah, he said that. I found that to be interesting, that you're seduced by the world, meaning you leave your home to go to work, do the things you need to do, and you come home with the absolute like last for your partner, for your family. And for me, that was so true for the longest time. I would go and give my all at the salon and to my team and to my clients and like come home and just be paralyzed on the couch.
You would literally come home and go right to the couch
and I
have
would
a glass
not
of wine
move.
and not move.
I would not move.
From there. And just so exhausted, tired. And then she'd be phone calls and text messages and all kinds of stuff. And then just not complaining, but just saying like how many text messages she has and how long days is. And it just was like on repeat. And it's like, you wonder why people after 15 years, they like have an affair, they gain weight, they're just not connected. It's like, yeah, no shit. Like, look how many years you've poured into your job, business, other things, and not the most important thing that we say. And that's what Bree and I are realizing. It's like, man, we have spent so much time building things, and it really is like it's all being taken away from us.
Mm-hmm. But another thing Steven said in couples therapy today that I found to be so true, he said, the greatest way to find your life is lose your life.
I don't like that.
I don't either.
I mean, I like it, but I don't like it.
Yeah, that means you're giving up or you're surrendering or, sacrificing, I guess, things that you like, things that made you happy, to realize I actually don't need any of that. When it's all stripped away at the end of the day, our kids have been fighting the sickness for, 2 weeks now. At the end of the day, being home with them has brought me so much joy. And although we're sleep deprived and we're tired, we are safe. They are safe. We're happy. And that's all I could ask for. And I am more present right now in their life than I have ever been in the 10 years that I've had children. So it's made for a hard week, but also at the same time, I look around at what we have and these 3 kids that all they want is they're desperate for their mom and dad's presence. And for us to be able to sit on the floor with them at night and be present and be those parents, it's something we missed for a long time. So in my coaching business, this is something I talk about openly and quite a bit actually with my clients, because this is, we're all in this pursuit to expand and grow our careers. But the one thing that you become unaware of in the process is that you can slowly lose your soul and your passion and your fire and your connection. That's everything we want to avoid while we build the empire, right? We're building this beautiful dream life. But what does it matter if you miss the lives in front of you that you were meant to share it with? And for me, that's exactly what happened through the pursuit of building my career. And so now in my coaching business, this is something I get to share with other women, like, hey, don't do this because this is how that ends. And it was nearly divorce for myself. And for some women, they're already there. They're like, how do I recover? Well, lucky for you, I can tell you that too. So it first and foremost starts with being in a partnership with someone who wants to be there. And there was a quick minute where I didn't want to be there anymore. There was a long minute where Mark definitely didn't want to be there. But we were able to come to agreement that this was the life we chose and we wanted together, and we were going to do whatever it took. Couples therapy on Thursdays, podcast recordings, date nights, all those things are all part of how we put that puzzle back together. And we're still working on it. Yeah.
Yeah, it's we talk about it a lot, but there's a reason why people stay the same. The reason why things don't change, and it's hard. I know why. I always thought to myself, like, why is it so hard to change? Why is it so difficult for people to go all out at the gym? Like, why is it so hard for people to stay consistent in their marriage or whatever it might be? And it's like, well, because it's hard. It's hard to stay committed to an eating plan, gym, all those things. It's hard to stay committed to your wife when you're annoyed and you have kids and people are sick and what all. It's like it's hard. And to fully experience change in what God wants for you is extremely hard. I met with my pastor yesterday and we're talking, and he said, I look at when God's calling you to do something, it makes no sense to people. It's like you climb a 100-foot tree and you're getting up to the top and you're telling God, hey, see what I'm doing? He's like, yeah, no, I see it all. But what I want you to do is go out on that branch and I want you to trust me. Yeah, but if I go on that branch, it's going to break. God's like, yeah, no, I know it's going to break. And you're like, yeah, but if it breaks, I have 2 things. Like either I die or you catch me. He's like, yeah, well, just go and I'll catch you. And most people will go back down the tree and they'll hug the base of the tree and stay there because it's a lot more comfortable. There's nothing that's going to make you stress and grow and be painful. Mm-hmm. It's very comforting. And I get that because I lived there for a long time. And me being in the spot now, Bree and I are on that branch, and we keep making decisions where that branch just keeps cracking. Mm-hmm. And we're like, all right. And God I think for me, it's always been money. It's always been money. And I have this, I don't know what I have about money, but it's just like, I'm holding it so tight. And what's crazy is I'm seeing it just dwindle each day. But what's weird about it, and I told my pastor this, and it was like, but there's a weird piece about it where I'm like, I'm kind of nervous. I'm definitely scared. And so is my wife. But we're like, okay, I think this is going to work. Mm-hmm. And talking about passion, that's where the passion comes from. Passion doesn't come from things always happening easily. Like when you talk to business owners that have made it, they have passion about it. Mm-hmm. When you see athletes that win, they have passion. That's what they want. And when this thing hits, our coach Garrett always talks about speaking from the heart and not the head. When you go all in with God and you have passion, it comes from your heart, not your head.
Mm-hmm.
And so many of us speak from the head, speak from insecurities, lying, guilt, shame, anger, all those things. And when you speak from the heart, you're speaking from truth, you're speaking from God, you're speaking from passion. Mm-hmm. And for so long, the reason why I'm speaking differently is because for so long I speak from my head. I spoke from my head. I spoke from overthinking. I spoke from knowing I shouldn't do something, shouldn't say something, shouldn't gossip, shouldn't talk shit about something. And I did anyways, knowing it was wrong, and it put guilt and shame on me. And now that I don't do that as much, I speak differently. I speak with a clarity and a purpose and a passion because I truly do care. Whereas before, I didn't give two shits. The only thing I cared about was me. Care about how I felt. And when you have passion, I care about my wife differently. I care about my kids differently. Mm-hmm. We have sex differently. We communicate differently. Like all that's different. And people are like, it's kind of a horse shit, which is what I thought for a long time. I was like, that's stupid. Like, how can you be soul connected with your spouse? Like I thought that was the stupidest thing ever. I'm like, soul connection, like whatever, you're just married. And now that I'm like, I see it. I'm like, okay, I get this. Mm-hmm. Like to be able to be passionate and communicate and like lust after your spouse and like truly want your spouse is something that like I get why most people don't have it. It's hard. It's difficult. It's not easy. Mm-hmm. You have to have passion, which it's so much easier to numb it and sedate and say, screw it. And so.
Yeah, definitely. I think another thing that you don't realize is a lot of times logic makes you stop.
Yeah.
When you're fueled by this fire and this passion and this drive, you could have roadblock after roadblock and say, nope, I don't care. I'm going to keep going. Where logic is like, oh, yeah, pump the brakes here. That doesn't seem safe. That doesn't seem secure. That seems uncomfortable. But I'm in a place where I'm okay to be uncomfortable. I'm okay for it logically not to make sense for people. Everything I'm doing in my life right now makes no sense to me. But everything about it feels so right in my gut and in my heart. I just know. So
there's something about the path we're going down. Being uncomfortable is kind of like where I need to be. Mm-hmm. Like it's a really awkward conversation. It's a really weird place to be because when people will say something and you're just like, well, should you feel like that? And they're like, kind of look at you like, this guy just like called me out after I said something. Because most people like openly lie. They openly will say something. And when you call them on it, they're like, this is kind of uncomfortable, right? And you see other people, like, they get kind of like real nervous and they're like smiling. You're like, yeah, this is uncomfortable. But this is because no one is able to have conversations because we all lie. We all hide in whatever we do.
In comfort.
And it's so easier because everyone around you does it. Like, go to a bar and everyone does the same thing. It's like, hey, want another drink? Yeah, I'll another drink. Hey, didn't your wife say be home in 5 minutes? Yeah, another drink though. Trust me, I know. I've been there. Mm-hmm. And so it's like, it's just birds of a feather and we're all in comfort. And when you stand out, when you're different, when you, like, we were at day night the other night and we're sitting at the bar and the bartender's talking and we're talking about having kids and she's like, yeah, it's so tough. I said, yeah, what Bree and I have done since October, we go on date nights every week and then we go out of town one time a month for one night or more. She's like, oh my gosh, like, that'd be amazing. Like, I don't think I can do that. I'm like, well, no, you can do that. You just got to figure out how to. It's a choice. And she kind of looked at us. You can tell she's not used to like having someone push
disagree,
back.
Yeah.
And then have a conversation like that.
Yeah.
Because she's married and she has kids and she obviously wants more, right? Because she's having a conversation with us. So I know you can do it. And she'd be like, just kind of looked at us, right? And we're like, hey, there's places 20 minutes away. There's this, there's that. You can, so you don't have to be gone all day. And she's just kind of looked at us like, wow, that's actually a good idea. Mm-hmm. And when you push back on people's beliefs and rules and laws and stories that they have, not in a mean way, but just go, hey, like, do you think that's really true? And they'd be like, well, actually, no, it's not. Yeah, no. Yeah, you could do this. You could do that. And it's like, wow. And that's where the passion comes in Because if I didn't care about her marriage, I don't really know her, but like I care, like, because I want her to have a good marriage, because that's what I want for everyone. So yeah, you have a passion for it, and you want them to be better. Mm-hmm. And kind of funny, we started the podcast off by me being kind of monotone. So has this been better?
I think it's pretty boring here at the last few minutes, but yeah, it was better.
Why has it been boring? I thought that was a good story.
Yeah, it went monotone though. But yeah, you're doing great. Keep it up. Here's your compliment number 3 of this podcast. So on that note,
Kevin, do you think it went monotone at the end?
He's saying, leave me out of it like always. No, I think to expand on what you just said, I think you come at people with compassion, with pushback. Because before it was almost like to get them rattled, where now it's like, I want pushback to help me grow. And it was funny, as we were talking about, the more pushback we give just by being honest and open with people, it seems like our circle shrinks tighter and tighter and tighter. Almost like you seclude yourself from others in that place of like honesty. And it's honestly sometimes a lonely place to be. But still doesn't make you compromise your path and what we're doing here. So it's been super powerful. But I think on that note, I feel marriage counseling, like I've said in the past or earlier, has changed our life. And doing all this internal work has revealed quite a bit to myself about myself and how I love Mark and show up for Mark. Not just how I see Mark and like us, our dynamic together, but us individually. It's been super powerful. I love that. Yeah, babe?
That's a wrap.
Yeah.
Thank you for tuning in. Again, if you are on YouTube, give us a like and a subscribe. We would greatly appreciate it. If you're listening to us on Apple or Spotify, give us a like and a follow. I will not be monotone going forward. I will be bringing the excitement here on Life in Abundance with the Gentrys. Have a good day.
I really hate you.